Why modern people feel spiritually exhausted. One of the most revealing features of contemporary life is that exhaustion no longer corresponds neatly with labor. Historically, exhaustion was relatively straightforward. A farmer harvested fields from sunrise until dusk and felt exhausted. A laborer carried stone, timber, or iron and felt exhausted. A soldier marched across hostile terrain and felt exhausted. The relationship between effort and fatigue remained visible and intuitive. Modern exhaustion increasingly operates differently. Millions of people awaken tired, work while tired, return home tired, and go to bed tired, despite rarely performing physically demanding labor. Their exhaustion often feels strangely detached from measurable activity. They may spend most of the day seated, climate controlled, and physically comfortable, yet still experience profound depletion. This discrepancy has generated considerable confusion. Many explanations have been offered: poor diet, sleep deprivation, economic anxiety, technology, social media, burnout, political polarization, information overload, all contain elements of truth, yet Malthusian Time suggests a deeper diagnosis. Modern individuals are not merely physically exhausted, they are spiritually exhausted. The term spiritual here should not be understood narrowly in a religious sense, though religion certainly enters the discussion. Rather, it refers to the deeper layer of human existence responsible for meaning, orientation, purpose, identity, value, and coherence. Human beings require more than calories, shelter, and entertainment. They require an understanding of what their lives are for. Historically, most societies supplied answers to this question automatically. Whether those answers were correct is a separate matter. The point is that answers existed. One's place in the world was often embedded within a larger narrative. Family, religion, tribe, nation, profession, and community provided frameworks through which existence could be interpreted. Life possessed direction because it existed within recognized structures of meaning. Modernity weakened many of these structures simultaneously. This development produced extraordinary freedoms. Individuals gained the ability to challenge inherited assumptions, question traditions, move geographically, pursue unconventional careers, and construct identities with unprecedented autonomy. Yet freedom created a hidden burden. Meaning became increasingly privatized. The modern individual must now answer questions that previous societies often answered collectively. What should I believe? What is worth pursuing? What constitutes success? What is a good life? What deserves my loyalty? What should I sacrifice for? What makes suffering meaningful? What is this all for? These questions cannot be avoided indefinitely. Every human being eventually constructs answers, whether consciously or unconsciously. The problem is that Malthusian time surrounds the individual with infinite competing answers simultaneously. One philosophy says wealth, another says happiness, another says authenticity, another says status, another says pleasure, another says influence, another says service, another says self-expression, another family, another career, another activism, another spirituality, and another says optimization. The modern person therefore inhabits a marketplace of meaning. This marketplace often appears liberating initially, yet over time it creates a peculiar form of exhaustion because every value system competes for attention simultaneously. One no longer merely chooses products, one chooses purposes, and purposes carry enormous psychological weight. This explains why many people increasingly feel overwhelmed despite possessing material abundance. Material comfort solves many problems, but it does not automatically organize existence. Indeed, prosperity may intensify spiritual confusion because survival no longer supplies automatic direction. The individual who spends every waking hour securing food, shelter, and safety possesses little opportunity to question the meaning of life abstractly. Necessity structures his existence. Once necessity weakens, deeper questions emerge. This is one of the great paradoxes of advanced civilization. Material success often reveals spiritual uncertainty. Malthusian time intensifies this further because attention itself becomes fragmented. Meaning requires continuity. Human beings generally discover purpose through sustained commitment over time. Relationships deepen through duration. Mastery emerges through duration. Faith develops through duration. Character develops through duration. Everything important requires prolonged contact. Yet modern informational environments continuously interrupt duration. The individual skims rather than dwells, consumes rather than contemplates, samples rather than commits, observes rather than inhabits. The result is a civilization rich in stimulation but poor in integration. People know many things, they understand few things deeply, they encounter countless experiences, they internalize remarkably little. This creates spiritual fatigue because the soul struggles to organize overwhelming quantities of disconnected information into coherent narratives. One begins feeling full yet unfed. The analogy to food is instructive. A person consuming endless snacks throughout the day may ingest enormous quantities of calories while remaining nutritionally deficient. Likewise, a person consuming endless streams of information may experience constant mental stimulation while remaining starved of meaning. Modernity excels at feeding attention. It often struggles to nourish significance. The attention economy compounds this problem because meaning and engagement operate according to different incentives. Meaning frequently emerges slowly, quietly, and without immediate emotional reward. Engagement thrives on novelty, urgency, outrage, desire, fear, and stimulation. The algorithm therefore favors what captures attention, not necessarily what deserves attention. This distinction becomes critical. Many individuals unconsciously assume that whatever occupies the largest portion of public consciousness must therefore possess the greatest importance, yet the inverse is often true. Some of the most significant realities in human life attract remarkably little attention because they are stable rather than sensational. Marriage generates fewer headlines than scandal. Parenthood generates fewer headlines than conflict. Faith generates fewer headlines than outrage. Character generates fewer headlines than catastrophe. Truth often competes poorly against novelty. Consequently, modern consciousness becomes saturated with events while remaining disconnected from foundations. This produces another form of exhaustion. Human beings were not designed to care deeply about everything, yet modern media systems expose individuals continuously to political crises, international conflicts, celebrity scandals, economic fears, social controversies, environmental concerns, cultural battles, and endless streams of breaking news. Every issue involves and arrives demanding emotional investment. The soul gradually becomes overextended. One begins carrying burdens that were never intended to be carried personally. The result resembles spiritual debt accumulation. Emotional obligations exceed psychological resources. The individual cares about too many things, follows too many narratives, tracks too many crises, and compares himself against too many standards simultaneously. Malthusian pressure emerges once again. Infinite demand colliding against finite capacity. This explains why many people increasingly crave silence. Not merely acoustic silence, existential silence. Freedom from demands, from comparison, from optimization, from urgency, freedom from endless input. Many modern fantasies reflect this desire indirectly. The appeal of cabins and monasteries, long walks, remote villages, camping trips, gardening, traditional rituals, and slow living often stems from a deeper longing for reorientation. People are not merely escaping noise, they are searching for environments where consciousness can recover coherence, because coherence is ultimately what spiritual exhaustion destroys. A person may endure immense hardship without becoming spiritually exhausted if suffering exists within a meaningful framework. Conversely, a person may possess extraordinary comfort while feeling profoundly depleted if life lacks organizing purpose. This is why modern crises cannot be solved purely through productivity systems, technological reforms, economic policy, or lifestyle optimization. The problem lies deeper. Human beings require a hierarchy of meaning capable of organizing finite existence. They require answers to questions of ultimate importance. What deserves my attention? What deserves my loyalty? What deserves my time? What deserves my life? Without answers, consciousness fragments beneath the weight of infinite possibilities. And this may be the deepest lesson of Malthusian time. The greatest scarcity of the modern age may not be attention itself. It may be the presence of a compelling reason for where attention ought to go.